Welcome to Fish Wrap TV, Episode 9. Today is Friday, March 19th, 2021. In this episode, we'll cover the bond markets, as well as updates on soybeans, corn, crude oil, and last but not least, wheat. We'll also talk the planting season approaching here in the U.S. and the next round of farm CFO grain hedges. But first, this week, we are also celebrating a couple milestones. First is our official live stream launch here for Fish Wrap TV, thanks to our production team here in Blue Earth, Minnesota. Mm-hmm. And also, we have a birthday this week, a board birthday to be specific. Trader Q, tell us more.
Well, March 17th, as I spoke about a couple of shows ago, was my 40th anniversary of signing the book, as we call it, at the Chicago Board of Trade, becoming a member. So I never thought I would even live to see the year 2000, much less be here with a 40th anniversary. So
cheers to you. I know it's not your signature Malbec, but...
Well, I know they'll be in shock out there in Twitter land, but I can't drink it all the time.
A little bubbly today to celebrate. So, and congratulations, your trading career has exceeded the years that I've lived. So, hashtag fossil.
Oh boy. Well, I guess I can't argue with that. When I was trading before you were born, I guess that I've just got to accept it. So there we have it.
Yeah, good to have that experience. So, and we'll do a live Q&A after the show. So if anybody has any questions, you can tweet them over to Q at StatFutures or on our live stream, and we'll take some Q&A after the show. So moving along, this week's market update is brought to you by Croptimize. So Croptimize, combining real-time analytics, deep market expertise, and AI to take the emotions out of grain marketing and help farmers make decisions like a pro. Check them out on the web or in the Apple App Store. Thanks, Croptimize. All right, Q, what's happening this week?
We had a big week this week in the markets, and normally, for the last 8 episodes, I've been talking about soybeans up top, but we're going to talk about bonds first because that epic blowout in the bond market 2 to 3 weeks ago has really it's rippling still across the entire sector of financial futures and foreign exchange. And what's really happened is that they put the fear of God into the people with inflation, the inflation fears. And that is rippling through the copper market like we talked about last week, but it's really beginning to build momentum. And that's why, I've got bonds up here talking about them at the top. The Fed today injected, let me get the number here right, $271 billion today liquidity into the markets. That is the biggest injection ever.
Wow.
Ever. And I've been watching bonds since my Transmarket days back in the 80s. And we've had nothing like this. So... this is $1/3 of $1 trillion was injected today. It drove Treasury bills negative. So, our Treasury bills rates are now negative because of this big inject. So something is happening. The Fed is losing control of this. Is what this is showing.
Have those gone negative before, or when was the last time?
Nope.
Really?
Yep. So, we got something new happening here. What's also happened is that with rates going up here in the States, the emerging markets are just getting hammered out there, their currencies. So, but most important, of course, is the Brazilian real. It traded today 18-ish, just at the low edge of 18 cents. Okay. So,
wasn't it about 28 a couple of years ago?
Exactly, yeah. Exactly. So they've lost 1/3 to 40% of their purchasing power. The problem is that they trade beans in dollars.
Okay.
So that's like they got a 40% bump in their local currency. So in other words, this looks like $14 nearby.
So does that mean there's going to be some more beans planted down there?
I have heard that the number they're going to plant this year is going to astonish everybody. It's coming out in the 21 crop. So I will bet you dollars to donuts we see a 150 to 160 crop down there. So it's going to be 20 million tons bigger than ours.
Wow.
So here we are again, betting stuff on Fish Wrap TV, and people are going to come in and just get after me here. But at any rate,
to weigh in on that bet.
Exactly. And the thing is, to give everybody an idea, this move in the bonds is like a $8 move in beans in 2 weeks.
Wow.
So on a contract by contract basis, and then this ripples through the Treasury notes and then all of the currencies. So we're talking trillions of dollars are being, just moved all over the place. And the volatility has gone up considerably. So we're seeing higher margins, the inflation fears. So anyway, it's really, really interesting how one thing can trigger, dominoes. And they keep talking about that, but, we're seeing it in real time.
So,
okay, next up, soybeans, of course, our good old friend for the last 2 months. This week, the funds blinked. I keep talking about the commercials and the funds. We had some rain hit Argentina, and rain hit the belts in southern Russia, and the funds blinked. And yesterday, they just bombed them and dropped them 30 cents in the soybeans, and did some real damage to the charts. Okay, today we had a bounce back. We call that a dead cat bounce, and just for chart purposes. But some real serious damage has been done to a bean chart, and I showed them to you today. On the Cunningham, and you just see these. You're seeing this rollover kind of pattern in the beans and the corn and the wheat. But
was there that gap and go situation that you were talking about?
It did gap and it went, but it came back and filled it and then bombed out. So it's really, and interesting chart patterns. The market and the fundamentals are still at play in the soybeans, but we've got people who are just getting a little bit scared.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was like the first drop of rain hit Argentina, and that the next trade in beans was down 10.
Ooh.
I mean, they were just after these guys. And I haven't seen the commits to traders yet, but I'll bet anything that the commercials are just sitting there at their 300,000 shorts in the beans. Let's see.
Corn.
Corn. Well, thing is, corn. China has been a big buyer of corn this week, and they bought 153 million bushels of corn this week, which is 75 Supermaxes.
This week alone.
This week.
Can they actually get all that shipped and unloaded?
There's a lot of talk on Twitter about the stack, as we call it, of all of these Supermaxes and everything else that has to be loaded, shipped out of New Orleans, and then through the Panama canals, both of them. So, and not only that, but you got to get them across the Pacific, and then you got to have someplace to unload them in China. And I mean, they've got hundreds of boats. Not only soybeans and corn, but they've bought 90 million tons of Australian coal that's coming up from the Perth side of the west side of Australia. So, longshoremen in China they got steadiest jobs in the universe probably.
So, and then crude.
Crude oil. Well, crude oil, like I said, last week it went from 60 to 66 in one day, and today it went from 66 to 60. So we call that a round trip. And, they're pumping up the margins at the CME group because there's just, these people are just taken to the cleaners. And what's happening is that even though there's inflation fears, we're beginning to see some signs that there's some demand destruction, as we call it. So, the ethanol crushes and everything else are beginning to weaken a bit, and the spreads are rolling over. So it's really, the canaries are chirping in the coal mines here that something is up. And of course, like we were talking about last week with, July East corn, that rolled over.
Okay.
So remember I told you the pros were getting long it? Well, they're taking gas this week.
Okay.
So we'll see if they're right. But, it's really, the game is afoot. And, this is really, really, when the pros from Dover should be in the beans. And you got to be careful. Because, I mean, they took that thing down yesterday. And I thought, man, there's just no way they're going to take it down 30. And sure as shit, boom, 30. So it was interesting to watch. But the damage it did on the charts was pretty substantial.
Okay.
So, and you saw that.
Yeah. So, well, and finally, you're a wheat trader, and we haven't talked much about that on this show yet. What's going on with wheat?
Well, I'm sure, people think, maybe Q really didn't trade wheat. But at any rate, the wheat has rolled over. We got a triple bottom at 615 in the July wheat, which is just deadly. And if it takes out 603, it is curtains for the longs. We're heading into the spring season, of course. Wheat is coming out of dormancy in the northern hemisphere. But they got a ton of rain over Russia exactly at the right time, right through the wheat belt. And it's coming out of dormancy with rain on top of it. Okay, I can't make a bet because the last time I made a bet about how big the Russian crop was, Pro Gluten took me for like 2 bottles of Malbec. So, but I'm thinking that 76, 74 million metric tons in Russia is not going to do it. It's going to be closer to 77 or 80. And don't anybody on Twitter come and say, I'll bet you 2 bottles of Malbec, because I'm not going to do it this time. I'm done losing money on Russia. But, we got the rain in Argentina, which, even though it's great for the beans, it's also good for planting wheat because, the cycles are the opposite. So we're looking at a situation where we had red wheat in Chicago over Kansas City and Minneapolis the entire crop year. And like I said, I've traded 40 years in wheat. This has never happened.
Really?
Ever.
What's the cause of that?
What happened is that Russia, with its, going from like 20 million metric tons to 80, and Australia going from, 10, 15 million tons to 30, those are all high protein wheats, like 11.5, 12.5% protein. Nobody else in the world grows this CRAP. I guess I could say craps, as I said shit earlier. But it's it's like low pro, and we're the only country in the world that grows this stuff. Mm-hmm. And of course, soft white out on the West Coast is 8, 9% protein as well. But that's used for noodles over in Korea and Japan. So there's plenty of liftings over there out of Portland to go to the Far East. So it's really interesting to see this. I never thought I'd live long enough to see what I'm seeing in red wheat. And it went from being a boutique crop to being the highest priced crop. And I go, I'd have lost $20 million trading this thing right now. I swear to God, because there was just, I would have stood in front of this thing at 40 under, and they took it all the way to 90, and they'd have carried me out. So they thank the good Lord I wasn't trading that stuff at this time.
Yeah, we want to avoid toe tags.
Yes. And, we're heading into, like I said, it's coming out of dormancy in the main areas, Kansas and getting ready to head into the, Indiana, Kentucky, Illinois, the big states for red wheat, and the big hard wheat states are coming out of dormancy. It's already done in Texas. It's growing. So we're going to find out about winter kill real soon. We're looking at first cutting here in probably 3 weeks to 4 weeks in the deep south of Texas. So, Corpus Christi should see the first train between April 15th and April 21st. So we're looking forward to that, and another crop coming in. So, I actually traded 1979 crop when I was with Pillsbury. So this is 42, 43. It's just amazing how many of these, they just keep going. Yeah, well, I can do calculus in my head, but I can't do arithmetic. So that's what we got calculators for.
Yeah. So, we're getting closer to planting season. As we've been talking, this is my first year making the marketing decisions for my portion of the family farm, and just got crop insurance locked in earlier.
Now, tell us a little bit more about that crop insurance.
Yeah, so it's looking with what the bean markets have been lately, I've gotten a bit more aggressive, actually quite a bit more aggressive than I ever actually knew possible. Didn't realize we could sell out a few years, but I put my first hedge in this week for 2023 soybeans. So I've got 25% of my crop hedged for 2023 and 50% each on 2021 and 2022. So, but part of what I've been looking at is how you can use the crop insurance to help cover your downside, so that you can be a bit more aggressive on the markets.
So your downside, you mean your downside of producing?
Yeah. Because what I don't want to do is lock in, a certain number of bushels, and then we get hail and you're stuck. So,
you're short the board, and and there's no home for you.
Yep. So that's figuring out what percentage from a risk management standpoint, like for taking advantage of prices, but also not overselling when you still have some uncertainty on. It's not there until it's in the bin.
Yeah, and what surprised I think it surprised you even that you got some 2023 hedged at 1060. So. You're looking at 1030 with a 30 under is you're putting your first lock in at roughly $10 to the bin, but now we even caught them sleeping back there, and got one even 30 cents better. So it's really interesting trading that. And by the way, November 2024, first 2 contracts traded 2 days ago.
Oh wow!
So 2024 is now on the board.
Yeah, what did those go for?
1030.
Wow. So, but yeah, so been been aggressive with the beans with the prices where they are. And with corn, I made my first, I just forward contracted with that instead of using the futures earlier this year. I got about 20% on corn because it was decent price, and I wanted to get something on the cash flow for getting the line of credit, operating line, especially knowing I was going to be doing some trading.
Without disclosing too much, what was the basis when you put that 20% on versus what it is now?
Well, the corn, the basis was more normal, around 30 cents. It was maybe a little higher than that. But the bean basis was what was crazy. It was about 60 under where it was usually 30 under. And that's what helped get me over the edge to say, all right, I'm going to go through the hassle of setting up the hedge account and managing my margins. But with being able to play in these out years, especially when I've got one of the best back option spread traders on my team, that definitely helps improve the confidence level. Turning the focus to 2021 corn crop, starting to look at, I've locked in about 20%, thinking about another 20 to 30% with the prices where they are now, even before planting.
Where you're looking at 468, 470, 475 in Dees. In the corn, and that's probably about a 25% return against the Iowa State cost of production numbers. So, 454 is our 20% magic number, I guess a 30 under basis. So it's really time to begin thinking about locking in some more. Yeah. And because, remember last year, you could have locked in 455 up to 474 before it blew down to 320. So, that was the real character builder was last year doing that.
Yeah. So, all right. Any other closing thoughts on the markets?
We're continuing to see these battles being fought, especially in the beans. But I think what's going on in the beans is really small potatoes compared to what's going on in the FX and the bonds. I mean, they are absolutely these vigilantes. They have gotten taken to the cleaners for the last 15 years, but they caught the Fed this time, and I think they caught them. And the Fed doesn't know what to do. Because what I'll say is this, is that $1.9 trillion spending bill they just had, 9% of it was really for particular use, like, COVID and the stuff that really need to be. The rest of it was just blow money. And I think that's why the vigilantes got after it. And there's nobody coming in to take the other side of this thing. And that's why they can just keep pushing it down. So, the bonds are going from like 180 to 150. That's $30,000 a contract.
Ouch.
Yeah. $30,000 a contract. And they've got 1.8 million contracts open. So they are throwing around some coin over there in the bond room.
All right. Well, that's a wrap for this week's Fish Wrap TV market segment. Again, happy board birthday to Q. Stick around for our post-game show here in a few minutes. We'll do some Q&A with Q about some of your trader stories, along with some members of our production team, Chris Parker from Self-Made Glory and Jacob and Willis from Triple Falls Productions. Thanks again to our sponsor, Croptimize, and we'll see you next week.